What's going on, folks? Brian the Broker here, and we are doing another History in the Dark real estate scam. Another one of these webinar guys. John Beck, the real estate scammer who is still missing. Maybe it's a good thing he's still missing, but let me make sure this is up real quick. It is. All right, let's get into it.
No.
I'd like to introduce you to John Beck, the man who, believe it or not, can teach you how you can buy homes all across the country for as little as just a few $100s.
The following is a paid advertisement for John Beck's newly updated, free and clear.
Talk about shades of straight up 1996, 1997.
Real estate system. The average home in America now costs more than $219,000.
I just want you to look at that price right there. 200 and Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. $219,000. I just want you. Hold on a second. Do not disturb. I just want you to look at that price. $219,000. Early 2000s. In 2013, I bought a home for $89,000 in Spring Hill. I think I sold it for $200,000.
But you're about to learn how you can start buying homes like these for just a few $100s and own them free and clear with no additional monthly payments.
Hi, I'm Michelle Boudreau. The homes you just saw and the many examples you'll see throughout this program were all purchased for literally pennies on the dollar, using the amazing secrets found in John Beck's free and clear real estate system. The secrets behind John's system are strategies that most people don't even know exist. Unique strategies that take full advantage of today's real estate market to purchase homes all across the country for as little as a few $100s. And John's...
You know, even well before I was in real estate, when I was a child, even I knew half of this stuff was just straight up garbage. So if you're still getting scammed by this stuff to this day,
strategies don't just apply to homes, they apply to all kinds of real estate. For instance, you could buy home sites ready to build on in lakefront communities for as little as $10. And listen to this.
True.
The purchased for amount shown for each property you'll see today, like this home that was purchased for only $521.56, is the amount paid to own each property.
he's going to get into how you do it a little bit, but I'll explain it as we get to it.
Free and clear with no monthly payments.
Coming up, you'll get to meet John Beck, the creator of the amazing free and clear real estate system, and learn how you can start using his system right now to purchase properties all across the country for just pennies on the dollar.
Robinhood Gold
like
is
my man
offering
get some-
4%
get some money
APY
real
with
quick.
high yield cash for just $5 a month.
Sentence was disgusting. Let's not forget, Cinnamon Twist tastes like packing peanuts. But the rest of the food looks great.
John Beck, or John N. Beck II, and of course his free and clear real estate system. Yeah, you're gonna make so much money, you guys, on just real estate that's been sold for just a few $100s. Imagine getting a whole house for just a few $100s. Guys, anybody want to take this golden opportunity to make just a gajillion dollars off of these property sales. Yeah, it's... Okay, all right, you know exactly what is going to happen here. I don't think I need to overly explain that this is a farce, but John Beck is, or was, more on that later, we aren't sure yet, an attorney, actually, from California. And in the early 2000s, he began running these infomercials detailing his free and clear real estate system. Now, we've already gone over plenty of real estate scams on this channel. So many scammers have done this, where they promise some ridiculous system, whether it's come to a seminar, whether it's, oh, you can get it for pennies on the dollar, or whether it's, you know, government auctions. It's basically some way to get ridiculously cheap real estate, which then you could turn flip with no risk to you, or, you know, having to even do any work on the house or the property or whatever it is. I mean, this is really easy stuff to get into, as long as you don't think about it at all, for any amount of time.
How would you like to own this home for just $781? Now, I'm not talking about a down payment of $781 with hundreds of dollars in mortgage payments on top of that every month for the next 30 years. I'm talking about owning this home free and clear for just $781. Or how would you like to own this home for just $390? Or this?
I mean, that one looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to turn it down if you offered it to me for only $390.
One for just $269. Well, today you're going to meet a gentleman named John Beck, who created and then perfected a real estate purchasing system called Free and Clear. This system will give anyone watching this show today, regardless of income level or credit history, the opportunity to actually purchase real estate, including homes like these for just pennies on the dollar, and own them free and clear of any monthly mortgage payments. John has used his secrets to buy thousands of these properties, creating great wealth for himself and his family. And today, he's here to share those secrets with you.
Unlike conventional real estate, through John's system, you can buy property for very little money. You can start up with very little to work with. I bought a house for $270 last year.
Once you acquire properties using John's system, you get them free and clear for pennies on the dollar. You have all sorts of options to use. You can keep them for yourself. You could turn homes into rental properties. You could develop undeveloped lots. You can just...
He kind of looks like a young Bobby Heenan, just a little bit. Bobby Heenan, who didn't really work out and probably doesn't have half the wit.
Flip properties and earn instant income. Right now, I'm just a few weeks away from selling my first property, and my profit range should be anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 profit on my first deal.
John, thanks for being with us here today.
My pleasure, Randy.
You know, this is absolutely amazing. I mean, look at this home. You're telling me that using the techniques in your system, someone actually bought this beautiful 3-bedroom home for just $312, and they own it free and clear of any monthly mortgage payment.
That's right. For just $312.87, they bought this home and own it free and clear. I know it's hard to believe, but that home actually costs less than a washing machine my wife just bought.
Let me see, for $300, would I rather have a washing machine or buy this house? I think I'll...
You might want the washing machine as well. I mean, you kind of do need to wash your clothes as well. I'm just saying, like, bruh, what you gonna do? Go to the laundromat? Do you know who hangs out at the laundromat? Bruh.
take the house.
Of course you would. Who wouldn't?
And what about this home right here?
This home? This home was bought for only $844.
$844.
And this home, $380.
Amazing.
And both with no monthly mortgage payments.
Okay, John, all right. I think everybody watching is probably dying to know, how can they get started buying these properties?
Well, Randy, it's actually pretty easy to do if you have all the right information. You see, these properties we're talking about today were bought at government tax sales.
So they all have delinquent property taxes that haven't been paid.
That's right. Believe it or not, every year there must be hundreds of thousands of properties with back delinquent taxes all across the United States and Canada.
Don't cities and counties rely on these taxes to provide essential services to the community?
Yeah, sure they do. They depend on them. They have to collect them. That's why they had to set up these government tax sale programs.
Well, can you give me an example of how one of these programs works?
Well, one program that's used by many cities and counties gives anyone a chance to own these properties by just paying off the back delinquent taxes, which in many cases can be just a couple of $100s.
Okay, wait a second, John. For as little as a couple $100s, anyone can have the opportunity to own these properties free and clear with no monthly mortgage payments?
That's correct. It's called a tax certificate sale. Okay. Another government program that I frequently use allows you to buy tax sale properties free and clear for as little as $5 or $10.
Hey, you're kidding, right?
Okay, let's kind of get into it a little bit. Yes, you can buy homes from tax sales, but these are usually state, county, city, township auctions. These aren't U.S. federal unless you owe taxes. Unless you owe federal taxes on it, then they come in and do it. Yes, can you do it? Yeah, but there's quite a few more steps that people don't tell you about. Like, one of them is you don't get the house right away. Most times what'll happen is you are going to have to wait, because even though, yes, you paid the taxes, the other person still has a chance to redeem the property. So what that usually means is, if the property taxes were about $8,500, $9,000, they got to come in with $10,500 as a redemption. So it's the $85,000 to $9,000 plus a little something on top of that to redeem you. Then they get their property back. In the event that they don't get the property back, well, we'll get into that.
No, really. In fact, I recently bought 29 nice residential lots. 17 of them were just $5 each, and 12 were just $10 each.
You bought 29 home lots for just $5 and $10 a piece?
Yeah. You can buy all kinds of real estate with these programs. Homes, residential lots, condos, income properties, even timeshares.
And once you own them, you can do anything you want with these properties?
Of course. Once you buy these properties through these government programs, you own them. They're yours.
Okay, John, so what did you do with those $5 and $10 home lots?
So, once again, not exactly. It depends on what it is. If it's, for example, the home was, if someone died and they died intested means without a will, then yes, it will be a final sale. Now, if someone comes up and says, hey, here's a will, now there's going to be a little bit of an issue, but most times you're going to come out on top. Other times, if they died with the will and they had to go through probate and all this other stuff, and it goes up to a state auction, that's also a little bit different. But in the event of this is usually like tax sales and stuff like that. So, once again, it's not always going to be as cut and dry as what he's saying.
I sold them.
And I bet you're wondering, how in the heck did John Beck's system work? According to Beck, there are people on this planet that don't pay their property taxes, those monsters. And when you don't pay your property taxes, the government just comes in, just swoops in and takes your property like immediately. That's exactly what they do. That's horrible, just the worst. Even if you only owe a few $100s on your property and taxes. But don't worry, the government's really nice about this to other people, and as long as you pay the few $100s owed for the taxes on the property, you then get the whole property in exchange. Like magic, yeah, that's a thing that makes sense. Alright, so...
When greatness calls, you answer.
You should be a mariner!
So, I think the reason why a lot of these scammers focus so much on the real estate is that I'm fairly confident the vast majority of us simply just don't understand how real estate works. And
So, once again, yes, you can buy these properties at a tax auction. I think I've said this too many times already. But once again, they do have and it's usually somewhere between 45 to 90 days, which is standard. Sometimes some places will give you up to a year to redeem the property out of that other person's hands before they can evict you. And that is the other part. You have to evict these people off the property. You can't just, it's a lot. It's a lot of paperwork. Also, there's a lot more into these things than you really realize. It's not just you roll up the same day and you say, get out the house. You got to do a formal eviction process of getting the people out of the house. And once you have the house, there's a lot that can go wrong. People, when they know they're getting ready to lose their home, let's just say they do the worst things to these homes or to these plots of land. If not less than, sometimes up to arson.
I get that. I'm sure many of you aren't experts in real estate. I wouldn't call myself an expert in real estate, but this is not a thing that is applicable to basically almost any situation. For one thing, even if the property seizure is one of those situations where the government's willing to give up the property as long as those taxes are paid off, they usually don't seize whole houses unless you owe thousands on the property. A few $100, they're going to steal your whole house.
Yeah, they could. They actually could, depending on the municipality. They literally could take the home for a few $100s. Now, will they usually? No. It has to keep building up. But if they really wanted to, yeah, they could. Over less than $500, they could do it.
No. They'll usually work with the property owners on that. And what friggin' property owner lets their house go when they only owe, $300 on their home?
You will be shocked at how many people actually do let their house go. Sometimes it's not always that they just let it go. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes you inherit things and you don't even know you inherited it from your auntie who died in Switzerland from a chocolate smelting accident. Yeah, anybody else get that email when they was a kid? I got it. It does happen. Sometimes things fall through the cracks. Sometimes you think that there's a myriad of reasons as to why things happen. Sometimes people just become unable to pay. Some people are in the areas where they just can't pay their taxes. And with the rise of how taxes are going up today in certain areas, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a higher thing. A higher percentage of people lose their home that they've worked their whole life for just because they couldn't pay the taxes.
Taxes? Are you kidding me? In terms of real estate, that's pennies. I mean, come on now. Who does that? And why would the government then let it go when they could make a lot more on the properties?
Because the government is not in the business of selling homes. That's why. And I do see this one happen all the time. What they'll do is they'll put it on the market for the highest bidder, which is usually going to be either an investor, a brokerage, or a bank, which if it's bank owned, it's called REO, real estate owned. And then they'll get a real estate broker, agent, realtor to come out and sell the home for them, because the government doesn't want their hands in that. That's one thing they don't want their hands in. They want to regulate, but they don't want to sell.
Well, in most cases, the reason they let it go for so cheap, if they do at all, is because the property is frankly garbage. The houses are often gutted, the furniture sold separately, they're in horrible condition, and basically they need to be broken down and rebuilt entirely.
Not all the time. A lot of the homes are actually in decent to fair condition. I won't say great condition, I will say decent to fair. Because, like I said, when people know they're getting ready to lose their home, they do the worst things to it. But sometimes, not all the time, sometimes they do leave that home in pretty decent condition to where you may not have to do a whole lot. You may have to do a little bit of updating. You may have to, just minor fixes. But that's not really the problem you're going to have to worry about. I'm just going to put it like this. If they weren't paying their taxes, what else weren't they paying? And you may end up finding out the taxes was the least of your worries, because there might be liens out the yin yang on that property. And if that's the case, just remember this: you have to clear all of that before you can sell that property.
So yeah, even if you do find yourself in a situation where all you have to do is pay off the taxes to get the property, you're going to find that you're going to have to invest way more money to put it in a position where it's ready for actual sale. At least for a substantial amount of profit.
Not all the time, but yes, sometimes you will. Like I say, if you're just going to rent it out to somebody, most times you're probably just going to have to replace carpet and other minor things depending on how they left the home. Sometimes, and this does happen quite a bit, sometimes you can actually leave, if they actually did right by the home, most buyers actually leave the people in the home and say, hey, pay me off over this amount of time and I'll give you back the home, and call it redemption. That does happen. Doesn't always happen, but it does happen quite a bit.
This is a normal thing, and it's definitely not often enough where everybody calling in to a nationally syndicated infomercial can make money. And this leads me into a question that's often asked when it comes to this sort of thing. And it's one you should always ask yourself whenever you're faced with someone offering you easy money. Oh yeah, man, I got the system. You can make easy money. Ask yourself this. If it's so easy to make money this way, why are they themselves not in fact making money in this manner? Huh?
So it is a good investment. You can use this as an investment tool if you know that you're going to get paid back. Once again, like I said, if the taxes are $8,500 and you get back $10,500, okay, you made a profit. That's a pretty, I wouldn't call it a nice profit, but it also could be a little bit of a passive thing, especially if you know the people can pay you back within 90 days. Sometimes you can give them a little bit of a deal, like, okay, just give me $9,500 and it's a deal. Or, hey, you can stay in that home and I'll rent it back to you. I'll take care of the taxes, but you owe me rent every month. There's quite a few ways you could make this work, but also do realize if this is also information that's been free for decades. Pick up a book. They're free. Well, pick them up before they get banned.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And the answer is generally they simply aren't doing that. What they're actually doing is making money off of you buying into what they're selling, which is a system that is utterly useless. You get their books and their tapes or whatever it is. Beck here was even going the extra mile and offering personal lessons and coaching sessions for thousands of dollars for people that wanted to know how to implement this definitely real system that's absolutely going to make you thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. You're going to be rich, filthy, stinking rich. All of us are going to be rich off of Beck's genius system.
I wouldn't say you'll be rich, but if you do work it and you stay within the realm of legality, you can make a pretty good chunk of change. I mean, I've seen people do it before. I've never done the whole tax lien thing because I know you can get in over your head after a while. But yeah, I've seen people, that's all they do. They'll just put in, like I said, 5, 6, 7,000 and they can get the money back through the payback, through the redemption. It's not bad.
No, we're not. Nobody is going to get rich off this except Beck, and that's exactly what wound up happening. It took a few years, but eventually the FTC cracked down on Beck, demanding the commercial cease, because frankly there was very little truth to what he was peddling in this case. The system was hogwash. You couldn't implement it effectively, if at all, And while Beck raked in millions off of his scheme, his customers who bought into it often lost their entire life savings or everything they invested. They were taken for a ride, and the FTC knew it. And I think the most frustrating thing about Beck is that up until this scam, he'd actually led a pretty honest and fulfilling life. Like I said, the man was an attorney and had been involved in seeking justice in many a case. He was a doting father and loving family man. I mean, this is not the sort of dude you'd expect to be a scummy scammer. And yet, he did decide to do that. I don't know.
Well, the question is, what does a scammer look like? That's what a scammer looks like. A scammer looks like the person you least expect to be a scammer.
Oh, maybe he had a midlife crisis or something and decided, actually, I want to be evil now. Or, I don't know. The FTC would wind up winning a $479 million judgment against Beck, as well as some related defendants. This was kind of a group thing. He personally was responsible for $133 million, though he was not on the hook for any jail time. And you'd think, since he made so much money and he was an attorney, he probably had enough money kicking around, at least in asset form, that he could have paid that off and probably been fine. He was an older guy, but no, Beck decided not to do that. For one thing, he immediately declared bankruptcy, trying to get out of paying the verdict, and then he vanished.
Let's let him get his money real quick.
Trying to get out of paying the verdict, and then he vanished. Yeah, this is where the story gets weird. He appealed the case in 2013, but on February 9th, 2016, he vanished. He'd actually been dropped off for a federal hearing in his appeal on Clay Street at 9 a.m. in Oakland. But instead of going to that hearing, he walked to the 12th Street BART train station. He boarded a train headed for San Francisco and promptly disappeared. And it seems that as of the making of this video, he's still missing. And no one seems to agree on exactly why he ran. Again, he wasn't on the hook for any jail time, just property, and he owned 3 different properties. He could have liquidated some assets.
Well, you know, sometimes the shame of the things you do that are just absolute terrible can make you want to disappear. I mean, hey, look at who I married. That made me want to disappear.
Assets, paid the fine, and just lived the rest of his life in peace. And yet, he ran off. And despite being 71, he wasn't known to have any mental faculty issues. Like he didn't have dementia or something else that would have made him just wander off randomly. It's likely he did this on purpose, to the point that even the police classify him as an intentionally or voluntarily missing person. But his family utterly defends him, saying that he wouldn't have abandoned them, that he was a doting father, and his brother says actually he was a really good guy who fell victim to overzealous government oversight. Yeah, it's all the government's fault that he took people for millions of dollars on a friggin' fraud. Yeah, that was all the government.
Yeah, it's always the government's fault, isn't it? Like, yeah, I did this, but it wasn't my fault. It was the government's fault. The government made me do it. No, dude, you did this on your own. Take a little bit of accountability, just a little bit. That's all we really ask. Just 5 seconds of accountability is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, 100%, definitely. Shut up. Granted, I do feel bad for them to a degree, since this is still their family member, their sibling, their father, their husband. And he's missing, and they don't know where he's at, and they care about him. So, you know, I get it. And like I said, by all accounts, prior to the scam, and even during the scam, he was a loving and doting family man. And the family believes that he's actually in legitimate trouble. That he didn't run from the judgment, that he ran from something else. His wife had noticed that despite the fact that the case was starting to look up as far as the appeal was concerned, her husband was outrageously stressed, but she never fully understood why. And then he disappeared. So, what's going on? Obviously, conspiracy theories are going to run rampant on this subject, but in my mind, it's one of 2 extremes, and both are equally dirt simple. Either A, he got himself involved in a very sketchy investor, Or, alternatively, one of the people he scammed decided to take matters into his own hands. Either way, threats were issued, and Beck decided to flee in order to spare his family of being in any danger. As a result, he's still missing. He is either really good at hiding, or they could have caught up with him, and he might be buried somewhere very remote.
I would really hope it's not the last one, because, even though he did some dirty stuff, he didn't make you buy this program, you bought it on your own. So, since you bought it on your own, yeah, you could kind of say maybe on a humbug. Nah, I can't. Look, if you bought this, own up to it, but don't kill somebody. Because, like I said, there are ways you could make money off of this if you're smart, but don't kill somebody over it.
That is easily possible. But, on the flip side, he could have run on purpose just to get away with the rest of the money. I mean, he declared bankruptcy as soon as the judgment came down, but I don't think he really was in a position to need to declare bankruptcy. I think he did to try to put off the inevitable. It's easily possible that he slyly put some of the funds on offshore bank accounts over the years, and once he had everything settled, he wound up fleeing to enjoy the rest of his ill-gotten gains in a nice retirement, sipping cocktails on a private beach with ridiculously attractive native women. I mean, that's easily possible too. His family points out that he didn't take his passport with him, but if he was trying to disappear, he probably would use a fake identity anyway. Regardless, despite a manhunt being ordered, and the family hiring a private investigator, he's still missing now. And as of this year, he'd be 80, so he's a pretty old dude. We may never know the whole truth regarding why, or...
9 times out of 10, this dude is gone. He's somewhere else, dead. Which is sad, because, once again, you don't deserve to die over something like this, but at the same token, I'm not really going to cry over him. Once again, this is more of a scam in advertisement, not really a scam in principle, because technically, if you work this program, you can make money. I just don't think it tells you everything you need to know.
For what reason he vanished at all. And as a result, this is one of the most mysterious endings to any of these scammer stories that I've ever discussed on this channel. Usually we know the ending, we know where they're at, what they're doing now, or what became of them. But in Beck's case, I have no friggin' clue. Nobody does, except perhaps Beck. And truthfully, I kinda prefer the remote beach theory, if only because the alternative is way more brutal and depressing. I know he scammed people, but I don't think he deserved to die for it, If he ran off with his ill-gotten gains and decided to relax on a beach, that'd be par for the course. The alternative, though, is pretty heinous, so I'm hoping for the best-case scenario in this situation. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fun farewell.
Okay, that was a good video. Now, once again, would I say that it was completely a scam? In principle, in theory, no, because yes, I do know quite a few investors who do the whole tax thing and they make great money at it. But there is some scamming in the actual, anybody can do it. You can make millions. No, you could probably make thousands. You could probably make hundreds of thousands. And if you get really good, you can make millions. But it's not a get rich quick. And because of that, I call it a scam in advertising. Anyway, go check out History in the Dark. He actually makes a lot of good videos. Check out a lot of his stuff. I'll probably do a few more of his real estate stuff. And Mr. History in the Dark, come out the dark and get yourself a crumble cookie. I promise you, you will love the crumble cookie. Get the crumble cookie, sir.